Welcome to the Born Unbreakable podcast. I'm your host, Coach Des, mindset motivator and lifestyle entrepreneur. From loss, trauma, disappointments, and devastation to healing, hope, and betterment, what has grounded me is my unbreakable spirit. We all have that spirit within us. Every week, I'm here to inspire you with stories of perseverance and growth. My mission is to help you crush self-limiting beliefs and to be unapologetically you. You are your only limit, so take action today. Let your unbreakable ride begin now. This episode is brought to you by KORMA Date Coffee, the healthy alternative to coffee. This delicious date coffee has the health benefits of giving you natural energy, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Best of all, KORMA is caffeine-free, no jitters, no anxiety, and no afternoon crash. Go to KORMAcafe.com, that's KORMACAFE.com, and enter discount code BORNUNBREAKABLE at checkout to get 10% off your order. Hey. We're here at the Born Unbreakable podcast, and admittedly, I'm going to put myself on blast. Okay, I'm running it back one time, and I have the most amazing guest, Trenton Hudson, because he's running it back with me. We've been here once before, and I had technical difficulties because that happens, and we just have to be honest with ourselves and give ourselves a break because we can't always control the universe of the internet and all the technologies. And so what I looked at it as, and I was telling Trenton when he so kindly offered to do this interview again, is that there's something more powerful that we're going to be sharing today. So that's how I look at it. It's this second chance opportunity. We have so many great things that we're going to talk about on today's show. And this is a pre-New Year's pump it up show because we're right before the New Year's entering into 2022. So with all of that being said, let me introduce my guest today. For this is the second time to me. He is Trenton Hudson, and he's the 3 C's because he's a cartoonist and he's a comedian and he is a coffee connoisseur. He's actually the founder of KORMA. That's spelled with a K though. That's KORMA Coffee. And it is date-based. So for those of you who are looking for a healthy alternative, I'll let Trenton do the talking on that because he is the expert. He has come up with the ways to make that healthier. But this is a creative conversation of a space that I hadn't covered before because you are the first comedian and cartoonist and coffee maker that I've had on the show. So it's just very exciting to get into this territory. So if anybody's listening that's an entrepreneur, a creative that wants the motivation of how to succeed in this kind of space, well, then you're in the right place. So Trenton, welcome for the second time to talking to me.
Thank you so much for having me. And what an intro that was. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm gonna save that. Use it on the rest of my
If you need a
podcast.
little boost, you could just replay that part.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say, hey, I brought my own intro. If you don't mind, Desiree did it for me, so we're just gonna run that at the beginning of this episode.
Hey.
If you don't mind, we'll just scrap the whatever you normally do, whoever you are. Desiree's got it under control.
If you're in another meeting with Comedy Central or something like that, you just want to throw it in there, reintroduce yourself or something. Just saying, I got your back.
I got you.
You're back.
No, but I'm happy to be back, and it's all good. You know, like she said, we had some technical difficulties the first go around. We recorded the whole interview and then went back and checked it out. It's like, nah, it's all glitchy. The internet wasn't working. So, but yeah, it's good. I'm happy to be back. So
but I'm just excited, Trenton, because one of the things that I value, and even more so today more than ever, is laughter in my life. And I think a lot of people have found that too. You know, when the pandemic first hit, which is crazy to think that was like almost 2 years ago.
Feels like earlier this year, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things that happen in this world. People felt depressed. They felt sad. They felt disappointed. They felt defeated. There's not a whole lot we can control. But the one thing that we had to push toward is our environment. What are we doing within the areas that we can control to bring fulfillment and joy and progression into our lives? And I found that laughter was a huge aspect of that. And I know in talking to you before, I think that's been a really big thing for your audience, because we'll talk about RiOT Comedy and we'll talk about the cartoons and things that you produce, but I don't even know if you thought about the magnitude of what the work you're doing would bring to people, because people need that. They need levity. They need
Yeah.
a minute from the seriousness and from, all of this dark stuff that we hear. The news is not a big help. You turn on the TV
The
and
news
it's
is the
talking
opposite of
about,
help. The news amplifies all the nonsense,
yes.
the negative energy, and like that gets ratings. And news is entertainment. Like people need to stop looking at news as news, because it's not. Like news is entertainment first,
Hmm.
news second. Like
Hmm.
that's the reality we live in, unfortunately. But it's all about dollars, not information. So.
Yeah, yeah, and I was funny because I was listening to, speaking of comedy, I was listening to this interview that Kevin Hart did with Trevor Noah recently on his podcast called Comedy Gold Mines.
Hmm.
And Trevor Noah was talking about in South Africa, where he comes from, when they report on the news, it's very fact based.
Hmm.
This is this event, this is when it took place, this is what
Hmm.
happened, this is the outcomes of it. And in America, where we are, and I know you're in LA, I'm in Las Vegas for anyone who didn't know. Um, there's a story, there's a spin, there's a whole thing, an element. So it's not
Yeah.
just the fact. It's
Yeah.
our opinions about it,
Yeah.
because we've got different perspectives and political parties, and so there's even more layers to it that you have
Yeah.
to dig through to figure out what the facts are. So there's a lot of noise out there. But
Yeah.
coming back to you, let's start with cartoons and comedy. Before we got to the coffee, when you were
Yeah.
young Trenton, like, what was your route into this world?
It was kind of a weird route, but I always there was always something pulling me towards it, right? Like the passion was always there, the calling was always there. I loved to draw comics as a kid. I used to always draw cartoons. I draw cartoon characters. Um, and I can remember telling people, like, as a kid, like, I'm gonna be a cartoonist when I grow up. And honestly, I kind of fell away from that. It wasn't like I knew since I was 5 years old I was gonna be a cartoonist and I stuck to the path and did it. Like that's not at all how it happened. It was like, you know, as a kid, I loved it and always had a knack for art. Um, and then things change, your perceptions change, and you're trying to find yourself as you're growing up. So you go from being I want to be an artist to I want to do Sports Center on ESPN to I want to design cars to whatever it is. Um, but it's kind of crazy how I got back into it. I was actually I went to college for journalism. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to do reporting for ESPN. And then turns out like I took my first reporting class my sophomore year of college, and I was like, I don't like this at all. Like I don't like going trying to track down stories. I don't like trying to find the right interview questions to get the right answers for this story and this and that. It's like I was like, I don't like this work. I don't care what even if it is sports, what I love, I don't want to do it. So switch majors, switched to marketing, public relations. Still graduated in 4 years, so that was part of why I switched to marketing, public relations. It was in the journalism school, so I was like, I can get in, get out of here. I'm not sticking around in college. Like I'm ready to go already. I don't want to stick around here more than 4 years. Not happening. So, and then like it's funny, halfway through my senior year, I'm like, I don't want to do this either. Like this isn't what I want to do. But I was like, you know what? I'm almost done with this. I might as well just waste another $10,000 for a semester and get a piece of paper and be out of here. So I was like, you know what? I'll fall into something. Everything will be good. Like I'm not worried about it. This piece of paper is going to help me, and it did. And I got a job working. After college, I moved to San Diego, and I went to University of Missouri, by the way. So shout out Mizzou. But moved to San Diego afterwards, and I got a job as a financial advisor. And I worked for a great company. I had a great team around me. I was set up to be successful. I wasn't successful because I didn't.
I love your candidness. You're like, yo, check it out. I had
Well,
all
like
the tools and it didn't work out that
it didn't work
way.
out. Because you know what, we have to be honest with ourselves, and there's people listening that are like, I don't want my story to look like I'm just good at everything that I do and had success every step along the way. It's a lot of ups and downs, failure, finding yourself, wins, losses. You just keep going because it's fun. Like even the losses, I mean, they suck, but whenever you bounce back from a loss and you're like, cool, I got it. But yeah, so worked as a financial advisor, hated my job, didn't like it at all. Didn't like the work I was doing on a day-to-day basis, even though like the people that I worked with were great. Like the people that I worked with, I did it for a year. I only did it because the people that I worked with were great and I didn't want to let them down. But it was probably ended up being worse the longer I stuck around, honestly. But like, but before I fully quit, I already had the decision made that, I literally called my brother and I was like, yo, I'm gonna quit doing this financial advisor stuff. I was like, I can't do it anymore. I'm tired of going to other people's meetings and working for other people and doing this and that. So I'm like, I'm gonna do comedy and I want to make cartoons. And I want to, you to make cartoons with me and whoever else, the rest of the brothers, everybody. But um and he was like, yo, that's dope. I've always wanted to make cartoons. And we've talked about it a million times. Like even growing up, we'd be like, yo, we should have our own show. We should make cartoons or whatever it is. But everyone has those conversations. They never go anywhere, right? Because everyone's had a conversation with their friends like, we should open up this business or open up this business. And you say it like when you're, just messing around. But then, you know, it's like this is who we are. So this is what I want to do and what I know my brother wants to do because we're such diehard cartoon fans. And so that day, the day I called him and we decided this is what we're going to do. This is October 2013. And so a little over 8 years ago. And we decided that day that this is what we're going to do. We didn't have any background in animation, writing, TV. No, we didn't have any clue how to do nothing. But we just got some computers and got some animation software, taught ourselves how to use it, watching tutorials online. Took a year and a half doing nothing but work on learning. It was learning animation, learning how to develop a show, kind of, and you know, creating these characters and putting backstories behind them and making them come to life and figuring this process out. So it was a year and a half before we ever made an episode of anything, and it was just grinding, head down, learning. It was how I was like, I don't want to go to college for another year because I'm not doing 5 years of college. I'm over it. This
Yep.
was another year and a half of college because it was literally every single day. And when I mean every day, I don't mean like 5 days a week. I mean 7 days a week of hustling and working.
But
Um,
it was your version because, like you
correct.
said, you went from journalism to marketing to financial planning to I'm going to do this my way and doing
Yeah.
something I love, and I'm okay with doing it 7 days a week
Absolutely.
until
Absolutely.
it gets
Absolutely.
to the point where I'm ready to share what I'm doing with other people.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you recruited your family.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had to recruit the family because honestly, like my brother Dylan, he was the one I called. And Dylan is like great with computers, but he's a like people think I work hard. I'm like, no, you should see my brother Dylan. This dude's a maniac. But I knew if he was on the team that like I couldn't fail, and that's what it came down to. I was like, if he's on the team, I can't fail. Like we can't fail. Like him and I together cannot fail, because we think in such complementary ways of one another. Like I have brilliant. I'm not trying to like brag, but I have like great like end game ideas. Like
It's
for
okay.
the things that
This
I've
is a
put
place where
together.
you can do that.
Like everyone should take credit for the things that they do. Like like be humble, but and, I don't sit around like I'm not the best and smartest and this and that, but I have some gems here and there. That's what it is. You have enough tries, you have some really big wins. That's what it comes down to. But
You have enough at bats.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah,
had
give
enough at
yourself a lot of
bats,
at
and
bats, and people forget
yeah.
about the times you strike out. So they just remember home runs, right? But so yeah, we think in such complementary ways of each other. Like I'm such more of a visionary and think big picture, long term, like end goal. And he's like, okay, if you can show me the end goal, then I can figure out how to chop it into micro goals. And it's like, it's like when
He's
you're
got that
climbing.
detail
Yeah.
orientation.
Yeah, exactly. He's so much more detailed. So it's like when you're climbing a ladder, you can't like just skip rungs. And like I can see the top of the ladder and be like, this is the picture that's at the top of the ladder. Let's get there. And he can be like, okay, these are the rungs. Here, let's put them here, 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 and like kind of set up this domino effect to help us get there. But yeah, I mean, like I can't do the things I do without him. And then the rest of my brothers that have helped with, the writing, the cartoons, this and that. But yeah, we think in such complementary ways, and that's such an important piece of what we do with the cartoons. And we work well together, and it's important to find people that you work well with. And I joke with people all the time that I tell people that I'm good at everything I do, and I am, but it's not because I'm good at everything. Like, the secret is, don't do things you're not good at. Like, that's the secret. So unless, like, there are certain circumstances where if you're not good at something, you have to put in the time, energy, and effort to get better at it. But you got to do one or the other. You either got to get better at it, or find someone else who's already better at it than you. So me and Dylan, we're good at the exact opposite things pretty much. So I just got super lucky that I was able to be, you know, born into a circumstance where I knew this man my whole life. And, some people have to search forever to find the right business partner that, they can, that they mesh well with, that they trust, that they think complementary with. And the great thing about, so our animation company, for example, it's me, him, and our other brother, Devin. And, you know, I tell people this all the time, that it's, us three, and they're like, oh, well, be careful working with family and this and that. And I'm like, you might have to be careful working with your family, but that's not the case over here. Like,
Yeah.
because we, we're best friends, and we were best friends like most pretty much our whole lives. Right. And, whenever and we're really close in age. There's only Devin and Dylan are twins, and I'm 2.5 years older than them. So, yeah.
Wow.
So
You
whenever
got the
you're,
twin force with
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. So whenever you have that kind of relationship with people, it's nobody is afraid of confrontation, which is the
I
best
imagine you're
thing.
brutally honest with each other.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But there's still a level of respect to be up withheld, right? I mean, we can sit there and be like, "Yo, that's a stupid idea. We can't do that," and no one gets mad. No one's like, I mean, you know, again, like, have it with level of respect. But sometimes it's like, yo, that episode needs to go on the dumb idea board. And we say that to each other. And it's like, but it's all love at the end of the day. And whenever you can't be afraid, especially working in a creative environment, but I think any work environment in general, like, whenever you're having, people that, especially your partners with, you have to, you can't be afraid to tell them something they don't want to hear. Like, it happens all the time with us. And everyone collectively has to put their ego aside and be like, if I bring an idea to them, I have to be okay with them telling me my idea is a bad idea.
Mhm.
That's,
You have to have that humility,
yeah,
and you have to be willing to and I think that's so important in anything, regardless of who you're
absolutely.
working with. There's
Yeah.
always gonna be, a difference of opinions.
Yeah.
There's gonna be ideas that you have that other people don't think are maybe as
Mhm.
great as you
Yeah,
do.
yeah, absolutely.
So,
And I
I
think
think
it's
that's a big
important.
that's
I
big.
I think it's important on the other end of it too. I think it's important to have the courage to tell someone that their idea is bad. Now, you don't have to be as blunt as me and my brothers are with each other, because we're like, Dude, we're not doing that. That's a stupid idea." So, I mean, but we were
Or
friends
maybe
before we
you
worked
should
together, and
be.
brothers,
Or
obviously.
maybe
So,
you should be. No, I'm kidding.
as long as you
I
can
think, well,
find the right words.
it takes a
Yeah,
certain level of trust, right? Because
yeah,
that's what it's
yeah,
all about.
yeah,
Once you
absolutely.
have partnerships that have a deep amount of trust, that is when your honesty, you feel the honesty tree
Yeah.
can widen, and I think that's important. But I wanna come back to what you said, because you talked about a year and a half. You
Mhm.
spent a year and a half maybe in what you might call an incubation, period of doing that work. So then what happened when you felt ready for the next thing after that time?
So the first thing we ever did, the first thing we ever produced, we did a 30-minute pilot of our show called The Lounge. And this was the first thing we ever did. We rented out a movie theater where we lived. We lived in Columbia, Missouri at the time. And so we rented out a movie theater, invited all our family, friends, filled it up, and they loved it. And it was great. And it was, like, really bad too. Like, the animation was bad, the sound was bad. Every other scene was like the sound was up and down. But it was like, okay, we're onto something here because they're laughing. So production quality, those are fine things that we can find, technical things. We can figure it out along the way. Like, we're not there
Right.
yet.
But
Um,
your content, the quality of your content.
yeah, it
Was
was terrible. It was terrible. Like,
Oh,
no.
but the laughter, the
Yeah,
joke, the actual
and
stuff.
that was it. It was like the jokes were funny, but even, like, the story wasn't that great. the stakes weren't high enough. It was kind of a boring watch. It was just funny, and I'll go back and watch it every now and again, just to because I like to see the progress we've made, right, and just kind of go back for kicks, and I'll be like, how did anyone sit through and watch this? But then I'm sitting there laughing. I'm laughing the whole time I'm watching it. I was like, this is hilarious writing. These are funny jokes. It's just bad story. But you got to have both
Yeah.
if you want to be successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we put that out, and then a month later we started releasing episodes on YouTube. So we released 2 episodes a week every week for 6 months,
Okay.
and that is we were keeping up with current events. It wasn't like we had episodes we were sitting on that we made over that year and a half. It was like, nah, we started in July, made an episode, put it out, got to work on the next episode, put
Hmm.
out episode every Monday and Thursday. So every Monday, the episode comes out. We do our promotion for it, this and that, immediately get to work on Thursday's episode and work nonstop until Thursday, until it comes out, and do the same thing for Monday. And we did that for 6 months, and it was 6 months of, we did 50 episodes, 50 short form episodes on YouTube, and we produced a whole nother pilot to send to networks. And we did all that in 6 months, and it was like we didn't sleep. It was I don't even recommend working like that. I mean, but the thing is though, we were working like and this is how, I started my coffee company too. I always just assumed that like somebody else is trying to do the same thing I'm trying to do, so I got to hurry up and beat them.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember one time me and my brother Dylan were having a conversation. This is whenever we're in the middle of that 6 month period, and we're sitting here grinding. There were nights when it's Thursday morning. It's like 2, 3 a.m. and the episode's not done. We got a deadline. We got to hit to have this out on YouTube in like a handful of hours. And there's times when I'm like, yo, I can't stay up anymore. I gotta get a nap in. If you can stay up and work on this as long as you can, wake me up when you gotta go to bed, and I'll wake up and finish it and put it out in the morning. I'll do all that. And there were lots of nights where we did that. And I remember one time Dylan said to me, he said, "Do you think there's anyone else in the whole world that's working as hard as us right now, trying to do what we're trying to do?" And you know, I never gave it deep thought and like actually thought about, is someone working as hard as us? Because I was just assumed someone was. I was like, I gotta handle that. I gotta, someone's coming for what I'm coming for, and I can't let them beat me. And I was like, after really think about it, I was like, I don't know, probably not, but maybe, I don't know. I just gotta. And he's like, there's no way anyone is. He's like, he wasn't having it. He's like, no one's working as hard as we are doing
He
what
was
we're
like,
trying
"We
to
are
do.
like zombies with zero sleep." And
He's like, he's straight up like, no one is trying to come into the adult cartoon animated space and working as hard as we are right now. They're not. He's like, I know they're not. It's not even possible. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right, because and we were working other jobs too. I was bartending at this casino like 3 nights a week, and yeah, if I wasn't there, I was literally working on cartoons. And now I still hustle, obviously, but sleep is a priority for me. And
yeah,
now it's
the
like
game has changed a little
the,
bit.
ga-
The
the game
game
has
has
changed.
changed a little bit
Now,
from the beginning.
honestly, 10 o'clock every night, no more electronics for me.
That's good because,
Yeah,
part of this grind is doing I love the way that Oprah says it. She goes, "You do what you need to do until you can do what you want to do." And
yeah,
sometimes what you need to do is that,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
You
absolutely.
have to put in the work because you're creating a foundation so you can get a system
Hmm.
that allows you to go to bed at 10 PM
Yeah,
and still function and do all the things that you
yeah.
need to do on a
And
different cadence.
everything you just said, and I'll say, to the people listening, I know like everyone is kind of coming down and be like, we can't glorify hustle culture and this and that. And I'm not glorifying hustle culture. I'm just saying what it is, because, like I said, you got to work like someone else is trying to do what you're trying to do too. And
Mhm.
the lesson from this is like 6 months after we launched our first episode on YouTube, we had a meeting with Comedy Central. We were in their office in Los Angeles.
That's insane.
you
Let me
know,
just,
you know,
for just take a pause for a second because that that's reaping what you sow right
yeah,
there. If
yeah,
you're going to go and you're going to work that hard for a year and a half and then put something out and be consistent, because that's what
hmm,
you were doing. You were
yeah,
consistent, even if it meant no sleep, that got you this meeting with Comedy Central in 6 months. Who
Yeah.
does that?
Yeah. So 6 months of putting content out, but I want to remind people a year and a half before that. So it was 2 years of nonstop work to get this meeting, but 6 months of other people seeing that we were doing this work. So to the rest of the world, it looked like 6 months, but for us, it was 2 years.
Mhm.
But yeah, and I'll say another important thing, people, something I tell everyone, and we touched on this our first original podcast, but reminder when we put out our first episode, terrible. It was just pretty funny jokes, bad writing, awful sloppy animation. And like our first episode on YouTube is the very worst thing we've ever made. It was worse than the pilot episode that we made a month before that. Um, but I see so many people that try to make everything perfect, right? They want to dwell on the little things that they can tinker with later down the road, and they want to make sure everything's perfect. And that's really like that's just fear holding us back. So we put out a terrible episode. The next episode was terrible. Our first handful of episodes are unwatchable, god awful. But if we had waited until, that's just me being honest, like they're bad, but they got better and better every episode, right? So if we had waited until we thought we were quote unquote ready by our standards or whatever, like, you know, maybe instead of launching the show in July, maybe we don't launch it until October, right? And yeah, it starts out better, obviously, but do we have the time to get attention from people? Do we have, you know, we got a lot of feedback in those first episodes, people saying this is funny, this isn't funny, whatever it is, and that kind of helped us learn about what's good jokes, bad jokes, good writing, bad writing. How are the people responding? Right, your audience is always going to give you the answers you're looking for. So if
Mhm.
we don't put the episodes out in July and we wait till October, we don't have that meeting in January with Comedy Central. It just doesn't happen. It
Mhm.
wasn't going to happen. Maybe
Yeah.
it would have been only a month later, but that's a month. And
Yeah.
time and everything compounds, like interest on your loans, right? Or whatever it is, like everything compounds, your experience compounds. um that everything can be a catalyst to something bigger real quick. So if I don't know, timing is important. So I'm just trying to speed it up because we don't get to stay here very long. Like if I'm planning on living past 100. I'm 31 now. So, if I might only have 75 years left. That's not very much time. And even thinking about it from like a average perspective, if I only live to 85, that's only 55, 54 more years. That's no time. 54 years goes by like that. Think
Yeah.
about it like this. So like, I'm 31. My life is roughly one third over. Every moment that I've lived ever, every amount of time that I have encompassed within me, I only get to do that 2 more times. That's it.
Whoa, that's a crazy way to think about it. And so it's basically to say, just do it. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, and I think that goes for whatever it is you wanna chase, pursue, do, any experience you wanna have, you wanna travel, this and that, like, figure out a way to make it happen. Don't go into debt for stuff like that, but anything else,
Yeah.
like, figure out a way to make it happen. Figure out a way, like, if
Do your due diligence,
whatever
but
whatever it
don't,
takes, yeah.
yeah.
Ethically and without burying yourself. Do whatever it
Yes.
takes.
That's awesome. So then what did this meeting with Comedy Central do for you?
So we flew out here, met them, had a meeting, and this was after having a couple Zoom meetings. We used Zoom before the pandemic, everybody. Or no,
Hey,
no, wait, what was it? Was it no, it wasn't Zoom. It was Skype. We used Skype before the pandemic.
right. There
So
you
we had
go.
a couple Skype meetings. But then yeah, flew out here and met them January 2016. Couple weeks later, they called us and said, "Hey, we want to work with you guys. We want to bring this show to our digital platforms." So we did for the next 2 years. We did episodes with them on like their website, their Snapchat, all those channels that run across their media where they were running episodes, and it was really successful. Like on their Snapchat channel, the only shows that were ever doing better than the Lounge were their staples, like when they would put short clips of South Park, Tosh Point oh, Broad City, that's it. Nothing else ever beat us in their most viewed and replayed episodes. Um, so that like 6 month hustle of really not sleeping all those episodes that led to that. The Comedy Central deal gave us such a like foot in the door, right? Because when you tell people you work with Comedy Central, it amplifies your credibility. It gives you a stamp of approval from a major player. So that opened
Mhm.
up the door for so many things for us, and we've made so many connections. Worked with other networks. Worked with some amazing people because of that. That Comedy Central deal was like a huge catalyst for us to we did a project with Showtime. We've worked with Kevin Hart's LOL network. We're trying to pitch a show with some former NBA players right now, and like the show's developed, and like they're on board, and like we have a pitch deck and everything. Like so, we're kind of trying to shop stuff around. But that Comedy Central deal, it
Mhm.
really it changed our lives because like I said, it gave us credibility. And when you mention Comedy Central's name, like yeah, we did work with Comedy Central. Then people will listen to you, because before that, no one was really listening to us. They,
Mhm.
they were they were finding out we existed, but then after that, you know, it just like I said, the domino effect. It just led to this thing, and then that led to this, and this, and but yeah, that kicked it off for us. And also, I think even better than that, the best thing about it was the learning process that we got to experience, because we went from YouTube episodes where the writing was bad, but it was funny, but and the episodes moved slow. We didn't have our timing down. It was all the technical things. There was no background music, so there's a lot of dead air and
Mhm.
this and that. So, we worked with Comedy Central, and they were like, "Yo, you gotta step up all this stuff right here, right?" Um, so, every time, the first handful of episodes, we used to get so many notes back, like a frustrating amount of notes. Um, Obviously, we needed them, but
I mean, because this is all in the spirit of growth, right?
yeah, yeah,
This
absolutely,
is just like
absolutely,
continuing to make you better,
yeah.
continuing to make you better and better and better. So,
Mhm.
well, and I know because there's people listening right now and they're like, okay, we're hearing this storyline. I'm sure the question that's in their head is like, okay, wait a minute. How do we watch this stuff? How do we watch your content?
So
Where do we go for this? I
yeah,
want to
so
laugh. I
so
want to
if
see
if
what's
if you
going
wanna
on.
check out the stuff we did with Comedy Central, you can go to their website, just go to cc.com. In their search bar, search The Lounge, it'll be the first thing that pops up for you. Our
Awesome.
brand is now it's called RiOT Comedy. So RiOT Comedy on YouTube, Instagram, all those, TikTok. And right now we're doing a show called Real Ballers, where we actually make fun of NBA players and all the nonsense that goes on in the
I
melodrama that
love
is the
it.
NBA news cycle.
I just love it so much.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
god, because it's just so relatable. Like, who
mhm,
doesn't know? I mean, even if you're not, I happen to be a basketball fan and
yeah,
everything. Golden State Warriors. I'm from California. Don't be hating. Um, but there's something
yeah,
that we get to see, even if you're a distant,
mhm,
person. You
yeah,
know who LeBron James is. You know
mhm,
who these people are.
yeah,
You see what they do. You see the success they build. You see the communities that they build.
mhm,
And it's funny. So the fact that you've taken something
yeah.
and done that, I think is brilliant.
Yeah, it's good stuff, and it kind of blew up pretty quick and got us a lot of attention, and that show actually led to us developing this show with these former NBA players, and I'm not gonna say names because this show, honestly, I don't know what's gonna happen, whether anyone will pick it up or not, but whatever. um, so I don't mean whatever in a sense like I don't care if they do or don't because I want them to, but um, so yeah, it's super funny, and we just make fun of them. And like we came back, so we took a little bit of a hiatus during the pandemic, but then we came back a couple weeks ago, because we had other projects we were working on, this and that. And but yeah, we came back a little harder, and we got another show we're putting on RiOT Comedy soon called Grown Folk, and it's basically about these four old dudes who live in a luxury retirement community. So it's not like nursing home, like luxury retirement community. They're all super rich, and they're just trying to have as much fun as they can before they die. But their backstories are all like ridiculous, and they're like one of them got rich from basically being like a petty con man. One of them, he's like a traditional businessman, but he faked his death to get away from his wife and left her. And so now he lives in this
He's
retirement community with his
hiding out
buds.
in this retirement
Yeah,
community.
yeah. And so yeah, it's just like we love creating funny backstories, and like our show The Lounge. And if anyone's like watching the video of it, this is a poster behind me. This is who these guys are, The Lounge. So like the uh this guy, the blonde guy, his name is Mo. He's the secretary of the school. And yeah, these guys all work at a school on the lounge. That's why it's called the lounge. They hang out in the teachers' lounge and just mess around because none of them are actual teachers in the show. So it's like secretary, counselor, bus driver, PE
I
coach.
love it.
So the secretary, he's like the super wild card of the group. He's the one that's always down to do anything, like literally no matter what it is. Like if you need him to come over and help you with something around the house, he's there. But if you also need him to like help you get rid of a dead body, he's there. Like he's got you, and
Right.
he'll like know how
I
to do it because
mean,
he's like,
there's a wide variety of
yeah,
things,
he's
really.
like tapped into the underworld. He's like a grimy dude, but his backstory is like he's like Batman. He saw his parents get killed when he was a kid, and he
Oh,
grew up in an orphanage, and then we have another character like the PE coach is like this slobby kind of lazy dude, and he grew up. He didn't know who his mom was because his dad told him that his dad was such a pimp. He slept with too many women. He didn't know who his mom was.
which is like the opposite
Yeah, yeah,
often,
yeah, exactly. So it
right?
makes
It's
no sense,
usually
but Coach just
no
kinda
baby
rolls with it.
daddy or
So,
something.
but yeah, we
Yeah.
we love, diving deep into these backstories of these characters to really,
And what inspires
understand
that?
who they
Like,
are.
are you is it everybody collectively? Like, what inspires the stories of the characters that you make?
We think there's a lot of comedy to be found in tragedy. So like all in the lounge, all the guys have bad backstories. But in grown folk, all the guys have good backstories. So like they're all super successful, they're all doing their thing. And the stuff they get into is just like kooky funny, right? But the guys with the lounge, it's like so one dude, he grew up in an orphanage, saw his parents get killed. The other dude doesn't know his mom because his dad was like a neglectful alcoholic and told him he was such a pimp to right. He was too much of a pimp. He didn't know who his mom is. And then one of the dudes, like another dude, grew up without his mom because I don't remember what it was, honestly, because we changed the story so many times. The original story was his mom has been in prison because she got locked up for not paying child support. But then we were like, we don't want to make his dad that kind of character that would have his mom locked up. So we changed it. I don't remember what it was. Like, but
That
and,
is too funny.
and then the only one who had like a normal childhood growing up, grew up in like a loving family, super great. It was the school counselor, and but his like downfall, so like he's above hanging out with these guys because he's like fairly successful. He's got like a hot wife who's a particle physicist and like renowned in that scientific community, and a super smart daughter. But he used to be, now he's this middle school counselor, but he used to be a psychiatrist with his own practice. But he lost everything for prescribing himself Percocet. He's a pillhead.
Oh, there you go.
So just ridiculous backstories, but it's it's inspired by reality, not just our reality, but like the whole world. Because like we grew up, me and my brothers, we grew up kind of rough. We grew up really poor. We think everything is hilarious. Um, even when tragedy strikes, we're making jokes. I
Yeah,
like
bring laughter.
yeah, yeah. If someone's in the hospital with a serious issue, we got jokes for it. Because
Yeah,
it's happened to us, like, we're not talking about making fun of other people, and we do that too, don't get me wrong, because we
yeah.
think everything is funny,
You're
but
bringing your real
yeah,
experiences into it. And
yeah,
now
yeah,
what is the impact that you've seen? So what is the impact from that you've seen from the audience and the people that
mhm,
have, really followed your work? What kind of
mhm.
feedback have you gotten?
This is, like, the coolest thing about it because when you have fans who really resonate with what you're doing and your kinda comedy, because our comedy's like it's not for everybody, but it's super funny, and there's it's a unique brand of comedy that not everyone can pull off and not too many people even try. Because we like to push the limits, but there's two ways to do it, and we do it authentically because it's who we are. But everything our characters do is in alignment with who the characters are at their core. So if they do something extreme or say something extreme, we don't do it for the sake of being extreme. We do it because that's who the character is. Whereas so much in comedy, you see people go for shock value laughs, and it always comes across as cheap. Like the audience, 9 times out of 10 does not fall for that kind of stuff. Um, so, you know, it's yeah, it's a different kind of brand of comedy, but I think it's a necessary brand of comedy, and the people that reach out to us, we've had people reach out from literally all over the world, and this is the impact that's so great. It's like we've had people reach out, DM us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and be like, "Yo, I live for your guys' show. Your all show brings me so much joy. Like, please don't quit making cartoons. Um, I look forward to watching your show every Monday and Thursday." And then, we took a hiatus during the pandemic because we were working on other projects, putting the show together with the basketball players, this and that. And we had people be like, "Yo, where you guys at?" And we also had people that were like, "Yo, I just want to check in with you guys and make sure everything's okay. You guys good? You guys," and
That's
and, and those are
cool.
the cool messages. And don't get me wrong, we love the messages also of people being like, "Yo, where's your content at?" But it's great to have both, yeah, because
Yeah.
when you kind of build that kind of community, you really have people that are not only invested in your content but invested in you, and they want to see you do well. And I think that's
Yep.
one of the coolest things. But yeah, my favorite is the coolest thing about it is when you have someone reach out and be like, like we've had someone say that I live for your cartoons. Your cartoons bring me joy, and that was like something
It's
that
worth
you,
it.
yeah,
Makes it worth it.
and something that you never expect to happen. We
Mhm.
didn't go into this thinking, what kind of impact can we have? How can we brighten people's days and make their lives better? It was, let's have fun making cartoons, being creative and telling jokes and get paid for it. And then you add this
Yeah.
other element, this other layer, and it's like now we have a whole nother reason to do this because there's people that actually care. And it's not like, I mean, obviously for most people, the things that they watch is just something that they do when they're doing it, right? But then you
Mhm.
have really like super fans, right? That kind of help you build this community, and they
Mhm.
care. And it's such a cool thing to get to experience. And but yeah, like I said, never crossed my mind until it started happening, and then I was like, yo, this is the coolest thing right now. Like
Yeah.
the impact that you really see. And obviously, we think we're making a great impact, even whenever we are telling jokes that may be offensive to some people. Like, other people laugh, and so if we can help those people laugh. And I also think, you know we live in a time right now where everyone's hypersensitive and everyone gets offended regardless of what side of the spectrum they're on,
Yeah.
politically or whatever. um and I think that comedians have a responsibility to society to talk about things that are taboo, that
Mhm.
people tell us we're not supposed to talk about it. But if you can't talk about things, if you can't be honest about things, if you don't have the courage to bring things to light, they stay in the dark, and where they stay in the dark is where they grow. It's like mold, right?
Oh, that's so true.
So,
Right?
you know
You're right. I mean, you have there is bravery in
mhm,
comedy because
mhm,
you know that you're going to approach some kind of topic, something sensitive, and it's not going to resonate with people who are like, I can't believe you just said that.
yeah,
But you're 100% right. If you don't bring things to light, then we're not gonna make progress. We're not
yeah,
gonna make progress on
yeah.
these things,
And I think that's
and
kinda similar to musicians. Musicians have the same responsibility to talk about things that are important, and bring to light issues that people don't wanna talk about. Like, if there's an issue, like, I mean, obviously, we see the issues America has when it comes to, pick your topic, right?
Mhm.
But so many
Mhm.
of those, some people don't want to acknowledge.
That's right.
But if we can make jokes about them, even if the jokes, some people aren't going to find them funny, but I think it's still can be a good catalyst to opening up the door for conversation, just like music is, right?
Mhm.
So, we talk about like music. You look at different musicians that really pushed the envelope, and people tried to censor them and tell them they couldn't do this. Even looking at Elvis and the Beatles, right? Music
Right.
that now today is sounds ultra conservative, but back then it was like,
A big deal for
yo, like they tried to
yo,
cancel Elvis, like shaking his hips, like this man's out here
like,
making
"Wait a
devil
minute,
music, you
don't
know?
you do those hip moves
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
You need to
yeah,
calm down with
yeah,
that."
and then what's his face? One Paul McCartney, or no, maybe John Lennon said the Beatles are bigger than Jesus. people went ballistic. And now, if
Yeah.
you said the Beatles are bigger than Jesus, I mean, you're gonna have like a few thousand people on Twitter pretending to be mad after someone tells them to be mad, but that's it. Like, it's not. So
Yeah.
what? It just kind of shows how we typically move towards more open speech, but now we're kind of digressing on that and regressing and going backwards, and we got to
Yeah.
figure out as comedians, how do we fight this? I didn't grow up watching like and listening to Eminem's music, for example. I didn't grow up listening to his music and watch him go through what went through to get to say whatever he wanted to say. I remember people burning his memorabilia, steamrolling it in the streets, trying as hard as they could to get this man canceled off the radio, get his albums pulled out of stores. I didn't watch him go through all that for me and all the comedians that I know to succumb to the same kind of, you know, faux censorship of people thinking they're like warriors to try to, help people, but they're, any like I don't know. It's a weird position we're in, but the conversations that I've had and the things that I've seen among comedians, especially,
Hmm.
we're moving away from it.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
we're about to dig ourselves out right now, and it's going to be amazing. And comedy's about to be in a really good place.
Yeah. Well, and I think all of that is incredible. And on top of that, as I'm seeing you take a drink of out of your Korma cup, I have to pivot to, on top of this comedy and cartoons and all this energy that you put in there, Korma was born. How did
Yeah.
that happen?
So Korma was born because I love coffee. I love the smell of it, the taste of it, the morning routine, everything. But I don't drink it because when I was 20 years old, I had a heart attack. I had another heart attack when I was 21 years old from kind of a rare, weird funk heart condition, just one of those fluke things. And basically, I have two aneurysms in my LAD. So the LAD gives blood to the bottom left side of your heart. So that quarter of your heart gets blood from the LAD. So I am very lucky because before I had my first heart attack, my heart, my body detected something going on and it developed these feeder arteries around where those aneurysms were to get an adequate amount of blood to my heart. So after I had my second heart attack, 15 months after my first one, the bottom half of my LAD, there's no blood flowing through there whatsoever, zero. So typically that's the end of it because like the LAD is actually called the widowmaker. If you have a heart attack in your LAD, normally that's a wrap for you. Yeah.
That is terrible
Yeah. So and
that it got even called that. That's just
I know.
it's
I
such a
know.
doomsday.
Yeah, and but I'm actually super lucky, super blessed. Someone's watching out for me for whatever reason. I don't know. I must be doing something okay because whenever you have a heart attack, whatever damage is sustained to your heart, that's permanent. Your heart doesn't recover from that. So any muscle that is no longer working, any area it doesn't recover, never heals, that's that. My heart suffered from two heart attacks, almost zero damage. My cardiologist is even like, this is crazy. He's like, I don't even worry about you. He's like,
You're
I
like a alien case study.
basically, yeah. So I'm super lucky, but caffeine gives me chest pain because caffeine kind of constricts your arteries a little bit, so it diminishes your blood flow. Um, but yeah, aside from that, like I work out, run, none of that stuff ever bothers me. But caffeine, so I pretty well quit drinking coffee for the most part. I'll drink it every now and again, but I never have 2 cups a day. I never have coffee 2 days in a row. I mean, really, it's like the only time I ever drink it is if I'm on a long road trip, pretty much, and that's it. So I was like looking for a replacement, but nothing would suffice for me. And I'm drinking tea right now. I like tea, but coffee's next level to me. So I happened to just stumble across Date Coffee on accident, actually, because I just happened to be one of those kind of reduce, reuse, recycle kind of people, if I can be in certain situations. So I just, I eat dates all the time, and dates are super healthy. They're considered a superfood. And I noticed myself throwing away all these seeds. So I just Googled one day, like, what can you use leftover date seeds for? You can turn them into coffee. So I started doing it, liked it, got tired of making it, wanted to buy it in the store, couldn't find it. So that's how Korma was born. It was like, okay, here's an opportunity for me to fill this void because I know if I wanted this, other people are looking for this too because it's super healthy for you. It actually gives you natural energy. It's full of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, fiber, iron. It's literally like everything you actually need to get up and have a good morning. And it's not going to give you the jitters and crash and stuff like that. And honestly, caffeine never really did anything for me. I'd always drank coffee for the taste. But now that I can have something that's actually good and healthy, and it's also non-acidic, so you're not going to get any acid reflux and stuff like this. It's not going to mess up your sleep. So like coffee will disturb my sleep a little bit. And for me, I don't know if it's more the caffeine or the acid because I can kind of feel it like in my center chest, you know. So I'm like, I don't like this. So I experimented with some recipes and figured out a way to get it to taste really close to coffee. And I've had a bunch of different alternatives, and none of them taste like coffee. Some of them are really good. None of them taste like coffee that I've had except this. So it was like a win-win-win for me. I was like, yeah, I can still have my coffee. It's actually better for me. It's not gonna mess up my sleep, and it's gonna give me real energy. Like, yes, sign me up. So I knew other people were looking for it. I was like, if it's something that I love this much, there's got to be other people that can't have coffee, whether it's you have a heart condition or you're pregnant and you're whatever, or you suffer from insomnia, or my dad's type 2 diabetic. He's shouldn't be having coffee. So and also even my mom was like addicted to coffee, hardcore for the longest time. My mom, my whole life, every day before I'd get up and go to school, my mom would be in the kitchen drinking a whole pot of coffee to get up and get her
That's
day on.
crazy. That's a lot of coffee.
Get out of bed, drink coffee like water until she goes to work. Yeah,
That is
every day.
so much caffeine.
And
So you basically you found this need. It wasn't just for you, it was
mhm,
for others, and you've got your family changing their routine, and
mhm,
then you've brought it to the world so that they can
yeah,
have an alternative that
yeah,
actually tastes good and is
yeah,
good for them.
yeah. Now my mom does one cup of coffee and then she drinks Korma the rest of the day.
That
But she
is
says she still needs
insane.
that caffeine kick, so I get it. It's not for me. I'm not, like, trying to convince anyone to switch coffee if you like the caffeine and stuff. I mean, it's not, like, great for you, but to each their own. But I'm here if you are looking for something, we got some that actually tastes like coffee and is actually super good for you, and especially this time of year. I don't know about y'all, but I like to have, especially around the holidays and it's cold outside, I really like drinking, like, Irish coffees and Mexican coffees. And for those of you who
Yeah,
don't know, like, Irish coffee is coffee with Baileys and Irish whiskey, and Mexican coffee is Kahlua and tequila. And mixing caffeine and alcohol is not really a good idea because both of
not
them
so good.
accelerate your heart rate and dehydrate you. So when you combine them, but you whip up like a espresso martini with some korma. That's been my jam lately.
Now you're in business.
Yeah.
Now people are listening, they're like,
Yeah,
"Hold on, run that
right?
back one time.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me what to do for my
Great, great.
holiday delight."
Yeah, yeah. So it's good. But yeah, I'm just not a caffeine person. It doesn't do it for me. It gives me a little chest pain. So that is reason enough for me to stay away from it. I'm like, yo, I just said I'm trying to live past 100, and caffeine ain't gonna help someone like me do that.
Right? But that
Not with the heart thing.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's incredible what you're doing because it's bringing something that's an alternative that's good to the market, and I would love people to be introduced to it. I'm excited about it. I ordered the toasted coconut, and I'm going to try the different ones that you have. It's super easy because it's just Korma, KORMA.com.
No, kormacafe.com.
Korma Cafe.
Korma
So
Cafe.
it's
Yeah.
KORMACAFE.com, kormacafe.com. So that's where you want to go to get the coffee. And I'm super excited for the collaboration because if you use the code Born Unbreakable, which is the title of this podcast, so you know how to spell it because you found this, so you can spell it. I know you can. If you use that, you'll get 10% off your order. So I'm just really excited for it. KormaCafe.com. Just thank you for doing that and bringing this to the world. I think it's incredible what you're
It's
doing.
it's 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 my
Um,
pleasure. Like, I love that I can help people, and like I said, like, I mean, it is for the world, but I started it because I was tired of making it myself and I wanted to go buy it in the store.
Yeah. Well, and
But
then
no,
now
like
you're
yeah,
helping people. You're
yeah,
giving them
nah, and that's super
they don't
cool, and
have to do
like
the work because
yeah,
you've done the work.
yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, and you know what? Actually, like, kinda touching on the similar thing with the cartoons is, like, how this has impacted people, like, yo, the messages from the cartoons are amazing. The people that buy my coffee, the most amazing people, like, even when they're pissed off about something, they come at me and, like, email, reach out on the website, and it's like, I can tell that they're pissed, but they're being, like, pretty cordial to me right now and, like, because we have good stuff, and we always do that too. Like, the only time I've ever dealt with any of my customers being, like, really upset and being, like, super grouchy to where I'm like, "Yo, what's your problem?" I didn't say that, but I wanted to be like, "Yo, what's your problem?"
Yeah.
Um, Last year during the holidays, everyone remembers when the post office was backed up, everything was backed up at the post office. That was the only
Oh,
time anyone was ever rude, but aside from that, it's been like, yo, the customers that have come to KORMA are, like, the most genuinely down to earth loving people. Like, all the interactions I've had with them are like, these are the people I want to buy my stuff because I, like, got so much love for these people because these people have love for me and what I do, even if they don't know that, I'm the person behind the brand. Just I can tell by the way they reach out, by the way they interact on social media, the messages, that I've received in the Korma Cafe Instagram DM, and people thanking me for making such an amazing product, and um, just the overwhelming, like, outpouring of love that I've got from the Korma clientele is another thing that I didn't really expect. I didn't expect people to just reach out and be like, "Yo, thank you for making this. This is amazing. This is what I've been looking for. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you." And I'm just like, this
that is
that's such a
awesome.
rad thing to get to experience and be able to, because you know how much you have to love and appreciate something to reach out and tell a stranger that you love and appreciate what they
Oh,
made? You
yeah. I
know?
mean, because it's a small thing, but you're passionate enough to do a review or send an
Mhm.
email,
Yeah,
out of your busy day, and I know
mhm,
how much that means, and
yeah.
I think it's incredible. So it begs the question, with everything that we've just talked about, what's next? So when you think about, we're moving into a new year, 2022 is upon us. What are you looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to seeing the growth that we're about to have with RiOT Comedy because we have such really cool projects in the works right now, and just kind of the brainstorming behind the scenes that we've been doing. Um, but I'm also excited to see the growth from Korma. Like, those are my two things right now, and you know, I I got some really cool things going on with Korma too. I don't want to spoil anything because, okay, important lesson for people listening to the podcast: write your goals down. Don't tell people what your goals are. It's a scientific fact that if you write your goals down, you're more likely to achieve them. It's also a
Yes.
scientific fact if you tell people about your goals, you're less likely to achieve them.
Ooh.
I stick by that rule. And that's the fact. You can sit here and say, I can talk about my goals. It's not going to affect me. We're not above it. We're all human beings. It diminishes your chances little by little the more you talk about it. So just write them, kick back, and work on them.
Would you now, is there a caveat to that where would you tell your brothers? Do you have like a secret circle where you would tell them? Where it's like, I'm not
um,
gonna tell the world, but I'll tell like these two people or something.
well, I don't. It depends what the goal is. If it's something small, feasible, more easily reachable, the more likely I am to tell. If it's something the more grand it is, the less likely I am to talk about it until it's more set in motion.
I got it.
Yeah. So
Ooh,
yeah,
that's a
write your
new
goals
data
down.
point.
Write your goals down. Don't talk about them. It's they're more likely to come true. They're more likely to come to fruition.
Ooh,
And
but
that's not
just keep
me on
at it.
some that's not me on some whimsical stuff. That's me telling things that I know to be true because people that are smarter than me did the research to to prove it
Boom. But
and bring it to me.
this does bring me to just a couple questions that I have to learn more about you. And I'm going to change things up a little bit because,
Mhm,
we're heading into a new year. One of the things that I like to do when I think about moving forward to gain momentum and to have focus is thinking about a word. a
Mhm.
word for the year
Mhm.
that kind of that brings you back to maybe it's goal
Mhm.
oriented, maybe it's more
Mhm.
just a mindset, but if you had to choose a word for yourself as you're looking ahead to a new year, what word would that be?
I think probably I'm looking at my board right now trying to cheat. Now
That's
I'm like,
okay.
okay, now it's okay. I'm trying to choose between a couple. I would say I'd say purpose. I'd say purpose.
That's
So one thing I try to tell myself every day is like my mantra is like walk with power, move with purpose.
that's a
That's like my
really
go-to saying that I tell
good
myself more than anything else.
t-shirt. Can I buy it? Is that on your website?
Oh, maybe I should trademark that and make that the Korma.
Right. Yeah.
um,
You can make
but yeah,
different
yeah,
things.
yeah.
That's a
That's my
great
thing.
one.
That's my thing. And like even like every time I leave my house, like it's become a habit to tell myself walk with power, move with purpose, because when you tell yourself walk with power, you stand up straight, you walk confidently,
Mhm.
you walk like you own the room. People
Yeah.
respond to that,
You've
whether it's
got
real or
confidence.
not. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So even if you're not a confident person, tell yourself that you'll walk more confidently. People
Changes.
will notice it.
Changes the way
People
you
will
carry
notice.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, purpose is the word. So move with purpose. So everything I try to do is like I try to make sure there's a reason behind it, right? There's
Whoa, that is good. That is solid. Solid, solid. Okay, what's something that you're working on improving? What do you want to see yourself do better in the new year?
um something I want to do better in the new year. Mm, I, I think discipline. I think that's kind of maybe a generic answer, especially for me, because that's something I'm like always working on. But it's like just like any other human, I try to be disciplined, and it's up and down. And there's days where I fail and days where I succeed, and we have moments of failure. But it's like the more disciplined you can be, the more consistent you can be. That's like the key to everything. Whether you need to be
Mhm.
more consistent with getting to bed early, getting to bed or getting up earlier, doing the little things or whatever it is. But yeah, I'm always disciplined. That's for me. It's like because that determines your what you do, how disciplined you are. It determines what you do, and then the saying like your habits become your actions, and that's it. So you got to stay
Yeah.
disciplined to otherwise you'll lose focus. And I go through this too. You get burnt out on certain things and this and that, and then your discipline starts to slip. And then the next thing you know, like I don't feel like going to the gym today, and then tomorrow rolls around and I don't feel like going to the gym today either. And then like if that third day hits and you don't go to the gym, then you're like, oh damn. Then it's really easy to fall in that pitfall of not going to the gym for weeks, right? So
Yep.
like the discipline, yeah, help you stay consistent. That's something I'm always working on because it's so hard. Like it's so hard, and
I'm with
it's
you.
and it
It's
it, it
easy to
gets
it's
it
easy
gets
it's easy to
easier.
fall off,
It gets
but
easier, but it's
yeah.
hard. It's hard to stay consistent with the discipline. It's hard. It's like you said, it's easy to fall off. So discipline for me is I got to keep
Ooh,
that at the forefront of my mind. I don't even want to
yeah.
say it
No,
a
I
different
love
way.
that.
I don't even want to think deep to try to come up with something like whimsical and deep as it.
Yeah. No,
Discipline.
I
Like
love it.
I gotta keep it. I gotta keep that at the forefront.
Yep. It's honest. It's honest. What about a self-limiting belief? I talk about that often. Um, we're all working. We're all working on becoming
Yeah.
better. What's something that you've accomplished? Like what's a limiting belief that you had and you've worked very hard to overcome that about yourself?
Arrogance.
Woo! Boy.
Arrogance. For me, I used to think I can do anything and I can do it alone. And boy, as soon as you realize that's the very most wrong way to think, the better. The sooner you realize that, the better. Like we all need help. We all need assistance. We all
Well,
need
I would
this
imagine
and
that RiOT Comedy is better because you're doing it with your brothers and you're doing
that.
it in
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
community,
yeah, yeah.
right?
And even anything else too. Like I used to have this arrogance. Like, well, if even if I don't, I'll figure it out. And it's like, okay, well. you might figure it out, but you're gonna figure it out way faster if you just have the humility to go ask somebody that already knows the answer. So
Mhm.
that was my big thing. That was my self-limiting belief, was my own thinking I could do everything. So it was never like I can't do this or that. It's like I can do everything, but it's like you're only one man. You can only do
Yeah.
so much. So you need to kind of check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah, right? Be humble. Sit down.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Uh, what's one thing you want to see changed in the world?
Yeah. I don't like where America's health is, mentally or physically. Um, it honestly, like, could almost drive me to the brink of insanity, because everyone, like, I don't like our mental health state, because everyone is hypersensitive. Everyone gets offended at everything. I don't like how self-conscious people are. I don't like how so many young people walk around with their head down, chest caved in, and their hands up in their sleeves like this. It's just like we got to figure out a way to, as a society, to elevate everybody's thinking about their own self. Like, everyone has such a low self-image. Like, no one has the confidence to, like, I talk about people like walking hunched over with their hands in their sleeves. That's like n- its own thing. But then there's everyone getting offended at things. So between like two, it's like people aren't mentally. They don't have the mental stability to deal with reality. And it's like, how do we fix this? How do we help? Um, like, what do we do as a society to collectively bring everyone up together? How do we do that to change our thinking about ourselves? And people always told me, like, I can remember being a kid, and I luckily I never had to go through that kind of, well, not I'm not saying never, but not to a grand degree, that some people just don't have the confidence. Like, I was always a pretty confident kid,
Mhm.
and I always thought I was like the coolest, even though I didn't have a ton of friends. I wasn't like the coolest kid in school, but I thought I was the coolest because the things, I love myself. That's why. It wasn't like I thought I was the coolest because I had the most friends. I didn't get invited to the most parties. It wasn't anything like that. It was just, I think I'm a cooler person than this person, even if they have more friends or more popular, like, whatever. And
Mhm.
people would be like, "You're you're so conceited," or whatever. And it's like, I mean, I don't think, I just love myself. Everyone should be. Everyone should think the way I think when
Yep.
it comes to this. Everyone should love themselves this much. Everyone should think like, if I think I'm a cooler human being than you because I love who I am, you should think you're a cooler human being than me, regardless of what I think. Like, who cares what I think? I remember I was in like eighth grade one time, and someone asked me, as I might have been seventh grade. I was in junior high, but this girl in my class asked me. She said, she said, "Do you think I'm cool?" And I was like, I don't know. I said, Why does it matter what I think? I'm just another kid at school." I'm like, and then I told her, I said, everybody is exactly as cool as they think they are. If you think you're the coolest person in the world, then you're the coolest person in the world. If you think you're the lamest person in the world, then you're the lamest person in the world, because only you can determine how cool you really are. Like,
Yeah.
and so who cares what anyone
We are
thinks?
we are what we
You know?
believe.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
are.
So I know people that, like, don't have hardly anything going on, but they just walk around like they're the shit, and I think that's a great thing. And then I know
For them.
people who
I
have
mean,
who have
that, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It's
for
all
them.
relative,
Yeah,
right? It's
and
all relative.
and then I know
It's
people who
true.
have the world in their palm, who have low self-esteem, self-conscious, no confidence, and it's like, there are people, like, willing to do anything to have what you have, but the things we have don't make us that. It's like, it's all up here. So there's just people who
That's
have
right.
that, and sometimes it's, a lot of times, from childhood trauma or this or that or whatever it may be, but
Right. There's a lot
yeah.
that it comes with that
Yeah, our
territory.
our mental
Yeah.
health, we gotta figure out how to raise it up, and our physical health too, where we're falling behind the rest of the world, and I don't like it. I think collectively, as a society, we gotta stop eating the things that we do. We gotta start moving more. We gotta start actually reading what we're eating. I go to the
Mhm.
grocery store. I don't eat anything down the aisles. I'm like, they say you're supposed to go around the outside of the grocery store. That's where I go. I hit the produce section. I hit the deli and get fish, chicken, beef, and that's it. That's all. Every now and again, I'll get bread. to if I
Mhm.
eat a burger. That's pretty much it. I don't even eat bread with my eggs anymore. But they feed us all these terrible things, and it's like
Mhm.
if you really care about your body, about yourself, about humanity, I think we have a responsibility to humanity. And again, I'm one of those people who, like, I don't think no one owes you anything. You don't owe anyone else anything, except you owe it to humanity to take care of yourself. You owe it to the gene pool. You owe it to all your ancestors who survived wars, famines, plagues, death, destruction. And you owe it to the future generations too to take care of yourself, because they're going to inherit your genes. And if you're sitting down here damaging them, making them weak, and like the things we eat, like vegetable oil, for example, vegetable oil, canola oil, literally change your DNA and RNA. That's a proven fact. It's
Oof.
terrible for you. It's not a food product. Vegetable oil is not even made from vegetable oils, from vegetables. Canola oil is not a vegetable oil. I'm pretty sure canola is made from cotton seeds or maybe rapeseed. And then vegetable oil is literally like, that one might be made from cotton seeds, but don't quote me. But either way, it's made from something we don't eat, and it's literally a toxic, wasteful sludge that they take the byproduct of, add colorizer to it, heat it up, get it really nasty and thin, add acid to it to dissolve anything that's crystallized in there, and then sell it to you and tell you it's safe to cook your food in it.
That sounds terrible.
If you people like if you saw how vegetable oil was made, you would never eat it again. It's
Ugh.
that bad. It's foul. It looks like something that you would use to lubricate industrial machinery for making cars and trucks and things. Like, and not even in the car, just the machinery in the factory. That's what it looks like. It looks like something that needs to be used to lubricate factory equipment. And they feed it to us, and we're just like gobble it up, and it's literally like one of the very most poisonous things in the store. So we gotta
Oh my gosh.
figure out as a society how to get away from this, how to hold ourselves accountable. Like, yeah, it's like the food industry is terrible, and we can sit here and vilify them all we want to, but they're not making you go to the store and buy their
Right.
products.
Yeah, we have the power of choice, right? We have the
Yeah.
power to make decisions, to take care of ourselves and,
Hmm.
increase our capacity to be able to do things
Yeah.
in the world just by the decisions we make with our own well-being.
Yeah.
So that's critical. Okay, what about advice? What advice have you been given? One of the best things that you continue to live by today that you would want to share?
Okay. Can I give you two? I'll make them quick.
Yes.
All right. So
Yes.
so so the very first, and both of these I got when I was in college, and these like were major influences on the rest of the decisions I made. So the first one was think backwards. So think about your destination. Like, don't try to go with the flow. Think about where your destination is, and then think backwards from there how you're going to get there. So if we wanted to have a deal with Comedy Central, like that was our goal with that show. We wanted to have a show on Comedy Central. So that's the goal. We had to figure out how to get there. It's like, okay, if we want the show there, we got to work with them in some capacity. If we're going to work with them in some capacity, we got to figure out, like, we have to know people there. We have to have a good relationship with the people that make that happen. To make that happen, we got to let them know that we exist. To let them know we exist, we got to have something to show them. To have something to show them, we got to start learning how to animate and this and that, and it's got to be funny. And so
Mhm.
think backwards, think about, and then that'll help you find clarity on how to get there. And then the second best piece of advice I've gotten: overwhelm yourself. You will be fine, and you'll be glad you did it. It'll be a great experience. Overwhelm yourself. Like, it's and especially if you're doing it and really trying, like, all the effort that you put out, the universe returns it always. Like, I notice whenever, with Korma, for example, if I'm kind of slumping in a certain aspect of it, or my sales aren't super high, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna really attack retail this week. I'm gonna reach out to stores and this and that. When I have those moments where I'm like, I'm gonna attack this retail sector,
Mhm.
my direct to consumer sales go up too. Just because, and it won't be like go crazy, but it'll move up.
Yeah.
It'll spike whenever I'm putting out that
Yeah.
energy, even into a different thing, because I'm still putting that energy into this business. So that energy comes around twofold, because when you're, I don't know if you've ever read the book The Alchemist, but
That is one of my favorite books, Trenton.
amazing book. So you know the saying, when you want something, the entire universe helps you aspire.
Fires
The
to
entire universe conspires
achieve.
to help you achieve
That's
it.
right. Paulo
Yes,
Coelho, people, in case
yes,
you didn't know.
amazing book. So, yes, when you want something, the entire universe conspires to help you achieve it, but you have to be putting out that energy too.
That's
So,
right.
as long as you're putting out the energy, the universe is also gonna give you energy too, because the universe responds to that. So, that's
Boom.
overwhelm yourself. As long as you're putting the energy in, you're gonna be fine. And it's also, you just have you ever notice how things just happen to work out? Like, even when you're all stressed out, and they think they just do.
They
So if
just
you're
do.
overwhelmed a little bit with whatever you're taking on, you're gonna come out of it. You're human, because we're the most adaptable things that we know of
Resilient.
in the universe as of right
Mhm.
now. So give yourself
It's
more credit. We're
amazing.
literally like walking gods, and people don't even realize it. Like, the things we're capable of.
Yeah, we do. We have the capacity to do so much, and we are our own. I always say that,
Mhm.
we're our own limit.
Yeah,
We are the limits that
absolutely.
we place on ourselves, and you've been such a shining example of limitlessness. Just in everything that you do, the energy that you bring, the thoughtfulness and the funniness that you bring. So RiOT Comedy. Make sure to be following that on the different platforms. You won't be disappointed. KORMAcafe.com. Check out Trenton's Coffee. I think it's definitely changing the way that we think about our health, and is one step in a long journey that we have to, like you
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
changing our health. And I just thank you. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Thanks. Happy almost New Year 2022. Oh my goodness, this year has flown by with a flash. I am blessed to have had the opportunity to learn about the journey of Trenton Hudson. And the biggest thing that I took away is just getting started. So I'm going to ask you, what is that thing that you have put off and held off on for whatever reasons that you have done that for, that you are going to change in 2022? Make this your year to get started. It is not going to be perfect. Trenton is the perfect test study for that. The perfect case. When he got to Comedy Central, it wasn't perfect. He got all kinds of feedback on the episodes that he produced, and he continued to get that feedback. And then he's gotten better and better and better with his company, with RiOT Comedy. And because of that, so much more is to come. With KORMA Coffee, same thing. He's had to improve a healthy alternative. There was something that wasn't out there, and he had poor packaging when he first started out. And now he has beautiful packaging, but he just needed to get it out there so people could discover his product. And now he's doing great. So just know, have that courage, have that determination, have that grit, have the leverage of the talent around you to get going, and stop making excuses. All right. With that, remember that you are your only limit. So take action. Take it today. I'm so excited for the year that we have ahead and the guests that we have ahead. It's going to be an amazing year for Born Unbreakable, me bringing to you content that is going to help you grow. And remember to be unapologetically you. It is my mission. It is my purpose. If you haven't subscribed, do me the favor of sharing this podcast. Share it, share it, share it. Share this episode. Share your favorite episodes. Rate and review the show. The only way that this show and my platform is going to grow is with your help, of my amazing listeners that have supported me from when I did Blissful Fortitude and the Bliss Beyond Fear podcast with Gina Marie to where I am today. And there's more in store. And I just appreciate you so much. Happy New Year, everyone, as you head into this year. Think about what you're grateful for and have a grateful heart as you move ahead. See you next time for another episode of the Born Unbreakable podcast, which will be in 2022.